Obviously, welcome all of you to the Orisha podcast, but also I'm welcoming you to the Orisha channel. Matter of fact, let me just say good morning, all right? And as many may know, Ekaro. All right, so for all of you listening, I'm doing something a little different. I'm going to try something. As you know, I'm always doing something different, switching it up. And I decided to kind of hit some basic points, maybe for the next couple of months. Sometimes when you're teaching and you've been doing it for a while, I've shared this before, you have a tendency to kind of start moving with a certain kind of momentum and inertia where you may look behind, and the people who you think you're teaching are not the people you're actually teaching, and you have to go back sometimes and go back to the back of the line and make sure that everyone is keeping pace and everything like that. So I decided to go back to some of the basics of some of the Orisha studies, just to try to help people to not only get caught up, but to help them to, I guess, feel a greater sense of surety in the work, right? So, basic thing I'm going to start with today, and of course, this is Chief Yuya. My name is Chief Yuya Asan Anu, and for those of you who are brand new to this experience or brand new to me, so you know who I am. And I wanted to speak about offerings, right? In a really, really basic sense, nothing complicated. A lot of times when people, I find, because I work with so many different clients, I work with students sometimes when I get an opportunity where we can meet face to face and do things one-on-one and things like that, and the people who are in my organization, Anu Life Global Ministries, sometimes when you step outside of the virtual world, things get a little bit more complicated for people. And in that, what I'm saying is that you can watch all of the Orisha videos you want, listen to all of the Orisha podcasts, join all of the Orisha Facebook groups, follow all of the Orisha people and E5 people on Instagram and so forth and so on. But until you actually put your hands to the work, that's the only time you really get an opportunity to see if you're ready to actually do the work. And what I mean by that, sometimes people, they find that after all the study and everything, that they're still afraid to do rituals. They still have basic misconceptions about what an offering is, or what a ritual is, or what an incantation is, like an Adura or an Ariki. What's the difference between an Adura and an Ariki, for instance, or the difference between Adimu, Ebo, and Tutu. What's the difference between those things? And sometimes people are afraid to appear as if they don't know. But if you don't know, you just don't know. It's fine. But that's an ego issue that sometimes people spend their whole lives trying to work through and get through. Being concerned about how they're going to appear in front of people and things like that. So what I'm going to do to help those who sometimes are afraid to ask, and let me just make it clear, if you are afraid to ask, and not just come to me and ask, but ask the peers who you are probably fronting in front of, like you already know, then you have a deeper issue. So even though I may teach you these things and give them to you and give you these freebies, that's what they are, you really need to address the ego issue. Because if your ego is unchecked, none of this stuff works. You'll find that you still have the same situations going on in life, the same trials, the same headaches, the same problems, and you won't be able to really get beyond them until you get your ego in check. You won't. There's certain things that go along with these traditions that really can't be left out of the traditions. And I know we're taught to skip so many things, and like we're taught if you just get the academics of it down pat or the scholarship of it down pat, that you should be allowed entrance. But understand, especially for those of us living in the West, those of us who were born in the West, we are being privileged by being able to enter into the Orisha tradition. And I know a lot of people say, well, that's my ancestral tradition. You don't know that. You don't know if your ancestors are from Nigeria, okay? You don't know if you may be indigenous to America. You may be indigenous to the Caribbean, so, or the Caribbean islands, we'll say. So understand that you have to come in with a level of humility, and coming in, trying to pretend like you know so much about 9 times out of 10 a tradition that you can't even speak the language of. It's just silly. You don't need to. It's okay to say I don't know and I need the basics, and respect the path to get the basics. You don't normally get the basics from someone like me. You don't necessarily say, Chief, how do you pour water? No, how do you spray the rum from your mouth? Don't ask me questions like that. That's not what you would ask a chief. Okay, so if I'm giving gems, it's a gratuity, right? So that's a basic thing of the culture for you to understand, right? I'm not saying it because, I'm not saying that to chastise anyone. I'm just giving you the culture, what the culture looks like, right? In the same instance, in my position, I can't necessarily cry on your shoulder, right? I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to tell you when I'm going through a tough time, or maybe my faith is rocked, or my faith is shaken. I'm not allowed to do those type of things. So, there's a multi-level network and structure and web of protocol and culture, and in some instances it can get really complex, right? So I'm just sharing that because this is also our premiere segment. So I'm going to add little gems in there as we go. Okay, but let's go back to the idea of offerings, man. A lot of times when I work with students and clients, or people aspiring to be students, a lot of times where they get hung up is they don't know how to deliver an offering. And I mean in a very simple of ways, like, I'm supposed to put these apples by the tree. Should I throw them? How should I place them? Should I say anything when I give them to the tree? What should I do? I'm confused, right? And that's a very basic thing, but honestly, it's a very realistic and reasonable question if you're dealing with a tradition that you haven't been in. And some of you don't have instructors and elders who are necessarily instructing you, and I understand that, and I'm not knocking your godfather or your godmother or your Iya or your Baba. I'm not. Everybody has their own style and their own way of delivering information. And in most instances, people are not going to teach you. They don't have time for that. In most instances, what people are going to do is create an environment where you can look over their shoulder. And you're supposed to be responsible enough as a godchild, or as a new initiate, if that's what you are, as a Yawo, or Abarisha, someone coming into tradition, you're supposed to be responsible enough to pay attention, to focus. And if you have to go to the side and write little notes, so that way by time you get to your godparent or your initiator, your questions are responsible. You're not asking basic questions that you shouldn't ask, or things that have been already said to you 2 or 3 or 4 different times already. You're asking questions that are relevant to what's actually happening. So that's very important. You don't want to annoy your teacher. You don't want to wear your teacher out by just being exhausting. It's not cute. You may think it's cute, and I've heard people talk like that before, like, yeah, Chief, I know I'll be getting on your nerves. And I always have to tell people, like, no, you don't get on my nerves. Because if you got on my nerves, I would get rid of you. I wouldn't stand for that at all. And some know I have gotten rid of them. Listen, don't call me. Don't sign up for any consultations anymore. You're exhausting. I can't have that kind of energy around me. I got too much important stuff to do. And you're playing. You want to debate and argue, and you're overstepping your bounds, right? So you want to make sure that when you have the opportunity to look over shoulders, do that. I've been in situation times in shrines where I'm doing work and I had people with me who I was training, and while I'm working and I'm doing what I'm doing, they're in the corner whispering, cracking jokes. And I understand that sometimes there's a nervous energy, maybe like you're lost in the moment, and another person may be lost, so you kind of, there's a camaraderie that comes. But I've kicked people out of shrines behind that before. Like, y'all go, go outside and whatever. I'll see you later. This is not a place to be doing that. You have to be focused. There's serious stuff happening. So, just, a little tip in terms of your learning. Like I said, when you get those opportunities to look over shoulders and watch what's going on, take those opportunities, right? Because that's usually how you're going to learn. It's very rare you're going to have someone who's going to sit you down and say, okay, 1 + 1 is 2. And then 2 + 2 is 4. And really take you through those basic building blocks. Very rare. Of course, there's many books that are out that purport to do that, but most of them don't. A lot of the information that you may get out of those texts are not really as valuable as, the price tag of the text may imply. Because, again, it's an oral tradition and there's certain ways that you're supposed to learn, but you don't get taught anything until you show humility. That's just the bottom line. All right, so that's a lesson. Everything I just said was a lesson. Don't take it as, oh, Chief over there going on. Don't be stupid. And there's always going to be those who are stupid. You're always going to have the 85%ers in every environment. You're going to have those when the 5%ers just listened and said, oh, he just gave some wisdom. Because, a wise person only needs a hint. But when, a wise person will say, oh, he dropped some stuff, the fool is going to try to distract you and leave a comment under the video, oh, Chief, ignore that, okay? Take in wisdom when you get it and then grow and apply it, and then you'll gain an understanding. And in time, you'll be sharing the same understanding or your own understanding based on the wisdom that you've gathered and applied. All right, so back to offerings, right? So the way that works, basic thing that you could do, right? A lot of times you may not know what to say, and you may know, okay, well, I went to SU first, and I did that, and I opened up that, and I may have went to my Egun to make sure they oversee the experience, and I fed my Ori so that my Ori charges the experience. But now what, right? Should I just throw these flowers in the water? Should I just take these cola nuts and throw them at the rock, or just place them on top of the rock, put them under the rock? How exactly should I deliver this? And real simple, what you could do, you tell those energies that you're working with that I have something for you. I'm giving this to you, right? Real simple. So one of the phrases a lot of times you would use, like, first you would call forth the energy. I had a little memory issue on my phone here. So like I was saying, I was talking about basics of offerings, right? So basic phrase that you can say, like I said, start with whatever the energy is that you're working with. So, like, let's say if you were sent to give an offering to Oya, you would just say Oya's name, Oya, right? Even though that's not Oya's name, that's a title. Technically, there is no Oya. There's Oya, and then the title is the actual individual, or the actual individual energy. We'll talk about that another time. All right. But so let's just keep it basic for right now. Right. So let's say if, again, you're sent by your Oluwa, or your godfather, your godmother, to do something or to give an offering to Oya, right? Or you may even feel like, I want to give an offering to Oya. So then you just say Oya. Start right there. Real simple. Oya. And depending on what it is that you're offering, say that first. So let's say if you're taking cola nuts to Oya, right? If you're taking cola, we call that Obi. Well, you have Obi Abata, Obi Arogbo, but let's keep it simple, Obi, right? So you would say like Oya, Obi Re Re, Obi Re Re, meaning like I have outstretched or I'm giving to you cola. Oya, right? So now you call Obi Re Re, right? Or like Oya, I have cola nut for you, right? So simple. Like you could actually leave it there in a sense. I mean, there's more you could do, but you could even just leave it there because you're saying, here, I'm giving this to you, and then you can place it where you're supposed to place it, wherever your instructed to place it or led to place it. Even if you're placing it at home, you may have been given, an Oya Oja or Oya shrine. You're working with the Jingili or Afumuka. So you might say, okay, I'm just going to leave it here. You could say the same thing. Afuremuka, that's how you say it. So you might say again, like I said, Oya, Obi, Re Re. Oya, Obi, Re Re. Right? And then usually what you want to say is like what you want, like what you're asking for, what you're aiming for, right? So like let's say if you're trying to, like, let's say you're working with someone, like it's you, maybe your god brother, your god sister, and you're trying to smooth out things. Maybe there's turmoil in a house or things like that. You might say Oya Obi Re Re. And then you would maybe, giving you simple versions. You could say like fun wa ni ilera. Fun wa ni ilera. Oya obi re re fun wa ni ilera. Okay? Fun is like give, give. Wani, like ni is to have or to hold, so I will have it. And ilera is like a peaceful home or a stable home, right? If you're giving obi for like vitalization, for good health, you could say like oya, right? We go back to that again. Oya obi re re fun wa ni alafia, right? And alafia is not just health. Alafia is also like things are smooth, almost like serenity. Not necessarily peace. People think alafia, they use it as a greeting. And they say, hey, alafia, that's not really how it's supposed to be used. But, that's another conversation. And not totally critical right now for what we're talking about. But you can use that, alafia, I'm sorry, oya obi re re funwani alafia, right? Real simple way. And then here's an important point. When you're invoking or you're giving to a certain energy, there's always a destructive or harmful aspect of every energy. And there's always a constructive or beneficial aspect of that same energy. So when you're giving Adamu, you're giving Ebo, you're giving Etutu, you're giving offerings, I should say that, you're giving offerings, you always want to make sure that you're directing that energy, because remember the energies exist in you. So Oya is your breathing. It's Oya is the movement of your blood throughout your body. Even to some degree, the alchemical processes that happen in your blood when you start noticing your blood pressure going up and things like that, because Oya is wind and water. Oberine Afefe. Oberine is woman, Afefe is wind. She's that woman of wind, but more specifically, she's the wind of the water. Okay, so she's the wave. She makes movement in water, right? So you want to always make sure that when you're giving an offering, that you're invoking the ire. You're invoking the fortunate aspects and not necessarily the iba or the unfortunate aspects of whatever you're invoking. Because remember, it's you. You're giving an offering to you, and sometimes we think that we can live as foul as we desire, and as long as we, it's not a church thing. You go out clubbing all Saturday night and drinking and pillaging, but you're in church Sunday dawning and everything's okay. That's not what this tradition is. People have made it that because of their misunderstanding. They think that there's no boundaries of character or boundaries of conduct in this tradition, but there are. There absolutely are. Sometimes people don't speak on it because of what they want to get away with, so they don't teach you that part. But, the upstandingness of your character is an important thing. So one of the things that you would like, you would say after you say like, Oya, Obi, Re, Re, right? And I'm repeating it over and over and over so I could drill in it to you. Oya, Obi, Re, Re, Funwani, Ilera, Funwani, Alafia, Funwani, Aiku, funwani or mu, funwani or wu, whatever it is that you're looking for. And if you're not sure of the Yoruba word for what you're working with, maybe something a little bit more specific, just you could say the word in English, it's fine. And okay, yeah, I had to do an instance check. So like I was saying, you want to make sure that you're invoking the good parts and you're kind of shunning and eschewing the parts that you don't want. So what you can close off your offering with is Mada Wahale Silu. Maha Wahale Silu. And what that essentially means is like, do not destroy me or do not cause problems for me, right? So because you could be invoking an aspect of you that can go either way. Like if you're invoking movement in your water, that could be a good thing, that could be a problematic thing. So you want to make sure that you're closing out, making it clear, like, I have this for you. I'm calling you. I have this for you. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. Basics, right? Real basic. Oya obi rere. Fun wani, which give to us, like if you're working, or if it's just you by yourself, fun woni, fun me, like give to me, fun womi, alafia, ilera, whatever it is, right? That you're asking for. Then you want to kind of mada wahale silu. Do not destroy me. Do not cause problems for me. Mashe me. Do not cause trouble for me. For whatever it is. And that's pretty much it, right? Now that's basics. There's a lot more that you could do, but for you beginners out there who are just coming into tradition and you feel maybe some apprehension about giving offerings because it's like, and sometimes you will have a godparent that will tell you, don't. And if that's the instruction, follow the instruction. Always be obedient to those who are sacrificing their time and their energy to teach you something. Even if it goes against what I'm saying. You may say, but I really like what Chief is saying and da 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 da. Yeah, well, I'm not in charge over you. I'm not overseeing you personally. Now, if it's an Anu person, if you're in my ministry and you're a part of this movement, or whether you're in the men's ministry or the women's ministry, because that's the only two genders that we have ministries for. All right, it is what it is. If that's the case, then it's a little different, right? But then you would be taking what I'm saying directly, and it would be no conflict anyway. But like I said, if you have someone that you're working with, and like I said, someone who's taking our time to instruct you and guide you, don't disrespect that relationship. That's very important, and that's a part of the tradition. That's that level of respect that you have. Sometimes we think as children in this, well, I just pick and choose what I need and what I want. You don't know what you need or what you want. I say it all the time. It's a very arrogant thing to do. Like we read a book and we don't know anything about the system or anything, but we say, I pick the parts that identify with me. You're only picking the parts that's going to identify with your ego. That's the game that's being played. So am I saying that you don't have the wherewithal to dissect the foreign tradition yourself? Yes. Yes. That's like going somewhere where people speak a totally different language. You don't understand anything they're saying. And you say, well, you know what? I just pick up the tones that I feel apply to me. That's the same thing here. So that's why teachers and guides and being a part of community are very, it's important in order to have that level of assistance. Don't come into it arrogantly or you will get hurt. And I'm not just talking about emotionally and mentally. You will get hurt. This is not a tradition or a lifestyle even to play with. And you can see the evidence. People who play with it. You can do Google searches, man. You see people get they killed and they fall into ruin. All kind of different things happen because they're playing with something that should be upheld and honored, right? So just in review, right? If you're giving an offering, so let's say if it's liquor, right? I'm just gonna change it up, and let's say you're giving it to Shango. Shango. Shango Oti Rere. Shango Oti Rere. Shango Oti Rere. Funwani. I'm trying to mix it up a little bit for you guys. So we'll say Funwani Ofo Ase, word power. Funwani Ofo Ase. And then you might, like I said, then you would just close it off with, Wada Wahale, Mada Wahale Silu, Mada Wahale Silu, Mada Wahale Silu, Mada Wahale Silu. Okay? So I think I said OT, right? Shango, OT, Ray Ray, Funwani, what did I say? Ofo Ashe, right? Word power. Funwani, Ofo Ashe. Give me the power to bring things into existence. Mada Wahale Silu. Do not cause any problems. So meaning, like in that instance, don't cause me to say something that's going to create enemies for me. I want word power, but I also want the wisdom to make sure that what I'm saying is effective and it's not destructive. I don't want to burn down my kingdom. I don't want to destroy relationships or hurt people or things like that with my words. So I'm asking for word power, but also I want the responsibility of proper usage of word power. All right. So this is a basic example. When you're giving offerings, basic thing that you can do. I'm going to give a lot more of these, right? And I'm going to give you your dawning motivations of, of what we do here, right? And I'm going to keep it real basic. And for the more complicated stuff, honestly, I'm saving that for, not saving it, but giving that to those who are under my presiding. Just to shoot out things on the internet randomly is not wise. I've taught a lot of Orisha information over the years. If you look up my name and just put Orisha behind it, you're gonna find a lot of information. But some might be surprised, that it's not fourth and fifth tier information. So there's a lot more that I have to teach, a lot more that I have to give. And those are for people who prove that they should be taught that way, not just going into my inbox and, Chief, I want to be your special student. It doesn't work like that, especially if I see you haven't gone through the ranks. If I establish something for you and I say, well, I've already put things in place for you to learn, and you're like, well, I don't learn that way. I learn better this way. You can't be my student. You probably can't be anybody's student. You don't go to the teachers telling them how you supposed to get it. Nobody has time for that. You got to understand that people who have important and powerful things to teach usually have important and powerful things to do. So their time is very precious. My time is very precious. Even the 30 minutes or whatever I'm taking to give you these basics is very precious. All right. With that said, and it's all culture I'm teaching, no gripes. I'm trying to teach you how this thing goes, because if you can conduct yourself in a proper way that is respective of the tradition, people in the tradition will actually want to outpour and give you more. They want to give you more gems and things like that, because you're showing respect for the culture, which is more important than anything else. You don't have to be a great priest, because that's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't have that level of magic or that level of skill or even that much ashe. We all come through with different levels of ashe. Some people have more than others, right? You don't have to be an initiate. You're going to still go through initiations anyway if you're part of a community. Those we call rites of passage, but you don't have to be a priest or a priestess. And I know your godparent may have told you different, and that's between you and them, right? But I always stress education over initiation. Anybody who knows me knows that. Learn what you're doing first. All right? And with that being said, that has been the Orisha podcast, and I don't know what I'm calling these segments yet. From the shrine, I think I'm like it. But until such time, Odabo.